This is the only case we have identified where the government claims professional consenting adult males were Mann Act victims. Mr. Combs's offense conduct is less culpable for another reason. The government now claims the male escorts were Mr. Combs' victims, but this is apparently the only case in Mann Act history where the government has argued that consenting professional adult male escorts or entertainers who made thousands of dollars were victims. The Mann Act did not originally treat men as victims. The Mann Act grows out of the White Slavery Act, which grew out of, well, a real thing that was going on of gangs of gangsters going through like the Midwest in like the 1890s and kidnapping little white girls and bringing them to Chicago and putting them in brothels. That was really going on. That's where the White Slavery Act came from. So there's 160. I just read from the 169 page legal the document submitted by Sean Combs' legal team in preparation for this sentencing that's coming up. When is this? Diddy sentencing. It's Friday. Okay, it's in 2 days. So I just read from 169 page defense document they turned in, and then we also have the Diddy sentencing thing from the government I have here. That's 164 pages. The government wants him to get 11 years. Remember, he was only convicted of 2 Mann Act violations, which is transporting people across state lines for prostitution. But they were all men. That's who he was convicted of transporting, was men. The male escorts. I think the prosecutors must be embarrassed. I think as the years pass and some books come out about this, we'll find out that, remember, like there was as the years pass and books come out, we'll find out that the prosecution expected for there to be much more serious and damning information against Mr. Combs. Remember the frenzy? Learn a lesson, people. There was the frenzy going up into this trial. Weren't we all expecting, whether it was Tania on Soft White Underbelly, whether it was that fat producer, whether it was all these, whether it was Tony Busby with this 100 victims of Puffy and Jay-Z and a 12-year-old. There was all this real crazy stuff. Men claiming I was drugged and I woke up and my bottom hurt, and Diddy was standing over me and saying, yeah, take that. Like, just, well, none of that weren't we all expecting that to come out in a trial, and none of it did. It was Diddy, Cassie, and that other girl, Jane, doing a lot of dope and calling men. And frankly, you do a bunch of drugs, especially when you're 50-some years old. I mean, you could take Viagra or something, but if you're if you're 50 and you did a bunch of drugs, maybe you don't want to take enough Viagra to be able to beat it up. And of course, as we know, this is rampant in the black celebrity community of these black gay men. They're like popular. Like, these women want to marry black gay men. I don't know what they're getting out of it. I mean, like 40% of black males like mess with men. So why cover it up at this point? I guess in the past Diddy had to cover it up, but like, I don't know. Diddy was clearly, I think he was hiring the men for himself, and they didn't mention some of that stuff, or whatever the case may be. I don't know, like, pretty weird and unsavory. But the government's asking for 11 years for Sean Combs. His defense team is asking basically for time served. I have to be honest, as unlikable as a lot of the things that came out, I got to go with Diddy's side and go with time served. Maybe not time served. Maybe make him just to teach him a lesson, make him go do 8 months more in the feds or something. But 11 years is a lot of time. I mean, 11 years, you would think that would be... So if I went and hung out at the Greyhound station and got some 19-year-old runaways and put them in a hotel and had them S&D for money, and I was taking their money and slapping them around, like, you would think that would get you 11 years. Not, hey, we're all at a luxury hotel and everyone's getting paid, and here's your drugs and your Ciroc and a plane, first class plane flight somewhere. But interesting, so they produced these really long documents. So Diddy's document starts, it's funny how much goes back to the father. I've done a little bit about Diddy's father. I should do some more. Mr. Combs is for, okay, in the areas, Mr. Combs, dear, 13 months in prison has been life-changing, productive, and a testament to his desire to return to his family and community and lead the best life possible. Mr. Combs has 7 children, 4 now by deceased Kim Porter, who desperately await his return to their lives. His 84-year-old mother, who, according to the Harlem streets, is his auntie, but that's another story entirely. Mr. Combs, history and characteristics. Mr. Combs, it's funny, and listen, I've been sentenced before, and I know, your defense attorneys are gonna pull at any string to try to get sympathy for you, but they go way back in time. Sean Combs was born November 4th, 1969 in Harlem. Melvin Combs was a U.S. Air Force veteran and a popular larger-than-life figure. His employment was not clear. Some said he was the heroin connection to Harlem and was a drug kingpin. When Mr. Combs was just 3 years old, his father was murdered on the streets of Manhattan, sitting in a Lincoln Continental on 106th Street in Central Park West. Not sure if that's actually Harlem, but I can tell you in 1972, I have the precinct level crime data for New York in 1972 and the several precincts of Central Harlem and I've seen precinct level crime data of all the cities all through time. 1972 Harlem was probably the most murderous area ever of any time period in the United States. And that's where Puffy was born. That's where his father was killed. The violent death of Mr. Combs' father traumatized his family forever. Blah, 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 blah. They point out that it is using things you weren't convicted. This is why you do not want to end up in a courtroom. It would definitely seem, and the defense points out, that using things that you were not convicted of, the intimidation stuff on Kid Cudi, I mean, all the things he was found not guilty of, not to mention things from the past, the stampede at the celebrity basketball game, which personally, that's where I feel Puffy really escaped somehow some murder charges or some manslaughter charges. The nightclub shooting, but you really aren't supposed to be punishing him for that in this sentencing. I'm not sure how pre-sentence reports works in the feds. I think that I do know that a lot can be mentioned and the judge can, by his discretion, use what he's want. There's certainly plenty of cases all throughout America of people convicted of relatively not that bad of crimes, but it's like known that they're a bad guy and they could never get them, and they slam them with the maximum sentence. The 11 years does fall into the guidelines. I think that the PSR, the pre-sentence investigation, the probation department created, asked for maybe 5 or some years. Diddy and them are asking, or maybe it's more like 36 months. Diddy and them are asking for like time served. All of it seems like a lot of time for doing some drugs and paying men, and you guys are having, stuff that probably most people wouldn't want to do. I think, as we saw, Cassie was in a relationship with him for 11 years. It's called tricking. If she had brought this out during the time of Me Too some years back, but she was still selling that mouth during Me Too, she would have been better off. But she got paid. She got $30 million. She may not have wanted to be a part of this, to go up there and degrade herself. I truly think the feds were watching social media and the internet, and they may have been having conversations with people that were making him sound like a real crime boss, but none of it ever materialized. And they're embarrassed and they want to give him 11 years. And I predict more like the 36 months, even though that's probably too much time. Honestly, I don't want to listen to his music. I don't want to hear him interviewed. But based on what happened, I think closer to time served, maybe 24 months, he goes and does another 6 months. I would say with him, he might be a candidate for someone to put on to a little bit more of a restrictive probation, where you watch his drug behavior and etc. The guy ain't made no music or nothing in a long time. He was making all his money being a mouthpiece for the white man Ciroc. That's gone. No one's gonna pay him to promote their product after all that unsavory stuff. He's gonna have to downsize his life. He may end up like Phil Spector, the weird white producer guy that ended up murking that woman, that maid waitress he met about 15 years ago. He took her back to his house, said she was playing with one of his guns, but he was convicted of putting the gun in her mouth and executing her, and he died in prison. Phil Spector was a bigger deal of a producer than Diddy was, as far as musically. What does Diddy do now? Well, maybe just go back to a life of hotel suites and drugs. Just watch who you involve in it. But what's your prediction for his sentence? They're asking for 11 years. I find that inappropriate. I think they're very embarrassed. They thought they had some big crime boss case, and they must have been told all sorts of stuff that either wasn't real or they couldn't get evidence. People didn't testify. One of the main things they're using about the 11 years is that people, victims, go to court in a case, feel unsafe that he's going to get out. If Diddy wanted to have something done to you with the money he's had, it doesn't really matter if he's in or out. I say let the guy out in another 6 or 8 months, but put some restrictions on him. Make him be in drug treatment, drug testing. Make him do a lot of community service. I don't know where they're getting 11 years from. You gotta watch these cases though, because if he could get 11 years for this, what the hell? All of us. There's a book a guy wrote a few years ago called like 3 Felonies a Day, something like that. And it's about how the average American, like not criminal American, like like white man Dan who goes to Costco and has a job and goes to church, commits the average of 3 felonies a day. There's so many laws at the local, state, federal level that if they want to look at your behavior, many of us, they could, oh, you did this, hey, Al, you didn't do that, and you didn't file this, and this paperwork isn't exactly right. If Diddy gets 11 years for this, like, ooh, it'd be pretty chilling. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Trump may come in at some point because he wants to curry favor. He likes to curry favor. The black population. He may think that, him pardoning Diddy will get him support. His support is flagging. He's gonna lose to Congress. Or the Republicans are going to lose to Congress in the next election. As I record this, the government is kind of running on fumes. It's shut down. You can't give him 11 years. So what do you think? I think the sentence should be closer to what his team asked for, closer to time served, maybe a little more time, but with some restrictions when he gets out. And as his defense pointed out, there's never been a Mann Act application of paid male escorts. We're going to fly you in to lay some pipe and I'm going to fly you in to pipe my girl down, and I'm supposed to go to prison for 11 years because I gave you some cash to pipe my hot girl down. I might be a weirdo, but I need to go to prison for 11 years? Come on now. Al Prophet, free Diddy, sort of. American Dope.